All right, it's the time of the month again. Let's talk about all the books that I read in October. Hey y'all, it's Lauren. So I was able to read 6 books this October, and one of them changed my life, and I love this book so much now. I think I'm gonna talk about her first. It was my only 5-star read of this month. I had a pretty decent range of books from a 5 all the way to my lowest book, which is a 3-star. Not terrible. I wish it was a little bit better. I had some books fall a little flat for me. Nonetheless, I'm excited to share these books with you guys. I'm gonna start with my number 1 favorite book of this month. If you don't read anything else in this list, I implore you to please pick up this one, and it is The Favorites by Layne Fargo. I initially placed a hold on this book via my Libby app back in I don't even know, March, I think, of this year, and it came off of hold the first week of October, and I was so excited. I had a couple friends tell me about it, and they really liked it. I had very, very high hopes for this book, and oh my word, did it deliver.
The woman was too stunned to speak.
I can't even explain to you how good this book is, but I'm gonna try my best to right now. The Favorites is about a young girl named Katerina, and she wants to be a Olympic gold medalist ice dancer. So, little history lesson, kind of. Traditionally, what people are more likely to watch are figure skating singles or pairs, where there's a lot bigger tricks, jumps, spins, things like that. Ice dance is more like you're watching someone ballroom dance, but on ice skates. It's actually pretty interesting, and I've been watching some videos of ice dances throughout the years at the Olympics and different competitions. It's really, really beautiful to watch. I'm someone who loves to watch ice skating. I have since I was a little girl. I cannot ice skate, however. Kat wants to be an Olympic worthy ice dancer. That is her number 1 dream. The reason she wakes up every single day, and the reason she is trying to work so hard to get to that Olympic level. She also is kind of in love with, kind of dating, kind of not, kind of grew up with this guy named Heath. He grew up in foster care, was in an abusive home. Kat herself lives in an abusive home as well. Her brother is very violent towards her and Heath together. They decide they're gonna run away and try to chase their dreams together. It is a pretty epic love story that spans from their teenage years all the way into their adulthood. It focuses on their love, their toxicness between the two of them. It goes through their being apart, being together. The scope of the book is very, very wide. We're traveling to different countries with them as they compete in competitions, trainings. It was incredible. I absolutely loved this book. I see a lot of people compare it to Daisy Jones and the Six. So if you are a fan of that book by Taylor Jenkins Reid, I think you would also like this book very well. If you're someone who loves a messy, drama-filled book, this is the one for you. There are times where I literally was jaw to the floor. I cannot believe that just happened. The love story between Heath and Katerina was so immersive. The writer, the author, she did a phenomenal job translating their chemistry on page, because there were several moments where they were just simply having a conversation, and I felt like I needed to look away because the tension was just sizzling off of the page. And this is a book that doesn't have any spice in it either. I felt like I was intruding. I felt like I was like, oh, my bad, let me walk out of here. It was so good, and I love it when a book delivers chemistry on page between two people without getting super explicit. I feel like that really showcases what kind of author the person is. If you can make me feel sweaty and they're just having a conversation, and it's not even a suggestive conversation either. That is the banter, that's the relationship, that's the connection that they have to each other. I was obsessed with them. Also, what's really cool about this book is I read this on my Kindle with the audiobook via Spotify. What's cool is the book, similar to None of This Is True that I read last month, It's kind of like a documentary within a story as well. So in between the chapters, sometimes there are interviews between ex-figure skaters, some characters in the book who are kind of giving you their side of the story as it's unfolding, chapter by chapter. And also this book was giving a little bit of Wattpad too, because there was like playlists for the book as a whole per chapter. And I did end up listening to a few of the songs that were mentioned in the book that were recommended you kind of listen to kind of get in the headspace of the characters. This book was super messy, super drama filled. Every day that I was not reading this book, or every moment that I was not reading this book, I was thinking about reading this book. The only reason I did not finish it in a day is because I have a job and other responsibilities that I have to take care of. If I were on vacation, this would easily have been a 10-hour book audio time. I would have finished it in like 6 because I could not put this book down. It was incredible. One of the themes it really explores is codependency and ambition, and kind of the dark side if you're too ambitious in something, if you are so dead set focused on a goal that you're willing to hurt other people on your way to get what you want, and you're not really considering, your friends, your family, honestly even your own health to get this lofty dream, how that can be detrimental to yourself, your relationships, and it can just turn you into a nasty, bitter person, especially if you get really close to that goal and it falls out in front of you. This was kind of like, I don't know, the lesson, the underarching theme and the lesson in this really struck me as well. This book. So like I said, I read this in my library. I really want to buy a physical copy of this book because I need to read it again, like this year. It was so good. I don't even know. It's been about a week since I finished it, and I still can't wrap my brain around the thoughts around this book other than please go out and read it if you don't read anything else. This one. So if you can't tell, I rated this one 5 stars. Definitely go check this out if you don't check out any other book. This one I think is worth your time. Listen to the audiobook if you have Spotify Premium, or if you can get it through Hoopla or Libby from your library. It is worth the wait. I think this is a book that I'm going to be slotting into the books I will always recommend kind of category. So now that we have my favorite out of the way, I'm going to go into the 2 audiobooks that I listened to this month. The first one is Then She Was Gone by Lisa Jewell. Now, if you remember, last month I read my first Lisa Jewell book, which was None of This Is True. I'll put it on top of my face. This book was a 5-star read for me. Then She Was Gone, unfortunately, fell a little bit flat for me. I immediately knew what the twist was going to be at around 50%. That being said, it was not a bad book at all. I was very entertained. I was still shocked at some of the things that came out. I thought it was pretty decent. I rated this one 3.75 stars. This is another thriller novel. So 10 years prior in the book, there is a family, and it's a nuclear family with 3 kids, 2 parents. They're happy, living their lives, when one day the middle child, the daughter, she goes missing. She just vanishes without a trace, never to be heard of again. Eventually, the police say, you know what, at this point, we think we can declare her dead because we just don't have any more new leads. The mother and the father obviously are devastated. The siblings are sad. Everyone's kind of dealing with their own grief. Eventually, the mother and the father, they get divorced. Just the stress and the grief. They're no longer able to kind of grieve together. They grieve apart. And then 10 years into the future, the police discover new evidence to support what happened to this couple's daughter. And this is kind of the catalyst of the story, kind of where we drop in as a reader, and we're following along this mother's journey into finding out what really happened to her daughter. In time, she ends up meeting this guy, and they kind of hit it off. He's an American guy, he's handsome, he's very charming and sweet. They start dating, and the mother in the story, she ends up meeting his daughter. I mean, he has 2 of them, and the youngest daughter this guy has is scarily similar to her own daughter that she lost 10 years prior. So this is kind of a mystery, a thriller. Personally, I think this leads more towards the mystery side versus the thriller side. Overall, I really enjoyed this book. I thought it was a fun take. It was giving kind of Lifetime movie a little bit with some of the plot twists. You know when you're I don't know if you're reading, or even if you're watching a Netflix documentary, or you're doing a true crime podcast, and something in the back of your head just says, that person something about that person. And I definitely had that at the very beginning of the book, like, this is kind of weird. And then as the story kind of progresses, I was like, I bet this is what happened. And it did. And don't get me wrong, I was still like, oh my word, I cannot believe that happened. But it kind of felt just flat to me overall. I still think it was good. I still think I was entertained by it. I wouldn't necessarily say run out and go and buy this book, but I did think it was good. I think I would have rated this higher if the ending was a little bit different. I didn't love some of the choices that were made, but overall, I had a good time with it. And yeah, I think that I really like Lisa Jewell. I'm excited to get more into her catalog, and we'll see the next time I pick up another one of her books. That was kind of like a very short little segment on that book. I don't really have that much to say about it, but I did think it was decent, so, you know. Okay, the second audiobook that I read was one of my favorites of this month as well, and that was One Golden Summer by Carly Fortune. Now, this is the second book in the Florak Brothers series, and this one focuses solely on Charlie. The first book, Every Summer After, we meet Charlie as the older brother. He's annoying. He's like that classic older brother, kind of a bully, but very charming and sweet. Loves the ladies love him, and he's kind of like the golden child, basically. In this book, we are able to get a closer view of Charlie and who he really is on the inside. Is he really the kind of guy that he was made to seem out in the first book, or is he someone with a little bit more depth? And let me just say, Charlie Florak.
I slowly started to be seduced by him, like he started to seduce me.
Hashtag need that. I fell in love with Charlie. I absolutely loved his character growth in this novel. I loved how deep we were able to get into his brain to kind of explain some of the actions that he was taking in the first book, the way he acted, how he interacted with girls, how he interacted with Sam and his mom. I really, really, really loved getting to know Charlie on this more intimate level. And he's charming. He's so annoying, but he's that kind of annoying that he knows when to turn it on and off. I really, 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 really enjoyed him in this story. Basically, we're following a girl named Alice, and she is a photographer, and she kind of is at a point in her life where she's been single for a while. She had a really bad breakup with her previous boyfriend. Her job is no longer feeling like a passion to her. It is starting to feel like a job, and she's someone who loves photography. And then on top of all that, her grandmother falls and breaks her hip, and her and her grandmother are besties. They love each other. They hang out all the time. So Alice thinks, you know what if I take my grandmother to the lake for her recovery, and we'll just stay the entire summer while my grandmother heals. There's a physical therapist out there. Like, it'll just be good for her to get out of Toronto, to be in Barry's Bay again. I think this will be a good spot for us. So Alice takes her grandmother. They travel to Barry's Bay, Ontario, where they spend the summer. Alice in turn meets Charlie, and it's definitely like a really slow burn, friends to lovers. I love Alice. Alice, she's so me. I felt very connected to her as a character. I think some of the things that she struggled with as far as like people pleasing and always want to take care of everyone else, but when it comes to yourself, you're kind of like, it's fine, I can handle it, like I don't need any help, I got it, let me just help you. And I loved how Charlie was able to slowly break down that fortress in her mind to accept help from others, to accept help from him, from her grandmother, from her family, and also helped her to stand up for herself as well when it came to people expecting her just to say, yeah, okay, I'll do it, and being like, actually, no, I don't want to do that. It doesn't make me feel happy. I don't feel fulfilled from that, and it's not going to be the end of the world if I say no. And that is something that I really, really appreciated in her personal character growth. The relationship between Alice and Charlie was so cute and so sweet and so 17-year-old summer romance. I loved it. And these are two people who are in their late 20s, early 30s. And I just loved watching them. I loved their dialogue. Their banter was really good. I loved their conversations together. I really enjoyed the slow progression of their deeper conversations. And also so that Alice could kind of come out of her shell and not be so shy and take risks like jumping off of a cliff, into the water, or saying no to her boss. I really loved their relationship together. Of course, Charlie is a man, and there were some parts in the story where I was like, Why would you do that? I mean, I understood it obviously at the end. Everything's resolved. But it's still like, why would you... So to me, it felt very realistic because I've had similar conversations with the men folk. And it was low-key like, maybe there is some hope, possibly. Who knows at this point? But I really loved One Golden Summer. I was happy that I finally was able to read it. And it was definitely something that I have been holding on to summer. I'm not ready for winter yet, but I was glad that I was able to get this off of my TBR finally. I feel like this will be something that I'll read next summer for sure, because it kind of just has that vibe and I really enjoyed it.
Also, my air is on. I love that every time I try to film a video, my air comes on. Every single time. So if you can hear that, hopefully not with the microphone attached, I apologize.
Okay, let's move on to our next book. The next book that I read was called Revolve, and this is by Khabra. Now, this was an ARC. Berkley actually sent this to me to review early, so thank you to Berkley for sending this to me. It's already been out, girl. This came out at the beginning of October, and I did not get the review out in time, but it is done on my NetGalley. So anyway, so this is a college sports romance following a guy named Dylan and a girl named... I don't remember. Let me look. What's my girl's name? Sierra. Now, Sierra is a former Olympic figure skater, and unfortunately at a competition, I think a couple years before the story takes place, she was in a very tragic accident on the ice. She basically fell, cracked her head open, and nearly almost died. So she's had to kind of relearn how to skate again, relearn how to trust herself, and kind of get over the fear of getting back on the ice. On Dylan's side, he is a hockey player and he's kind of a bad boy. Like, he is the guy on the team who always is looking for a fight with the other team. He plays aggressively. He is kind of an aggressive player, but he has secured a spot in the NHL draft. All he has to do is finish school and not get into any more fights or into any more trouble. Of course, he goes to a party. He's dealing with a lot of stuff in his personal life with his parents, and he consumes marijuana. Now, of course, the next practice day, random drug test. So he fails his drug test. Now his status goes to pending with the NHL because he's violated, there are a lot of rules and stuff for college sports. So he's violated his rules. Now he's kind of feeling really bad about himself. Sierra and Dylan meet and they immediately don't like each other. So yes, this is an enemies to lovers romance. And you know that I love an enemies to lovers romance. So over running into each other, yada yada, Sierra's figure skating coach and Dylan's hockey coach decide, what if we put these two together? That way Dylan can build a good reputation by helping Sierra kind of get back to the ice and fulfill her competition route. And Sierra in turn can, become more confident on the ice and be able to try and place for national titles and things like that again. As pair figure skaters, I should mention that. This book was actually pretty good. I rated it 4 stars. It actually is an interconnected series. There's 2 other books called Collide and Spiral, also by her. I have not read those other 2 books at all. And will I? Who knows? They're not really on my radar, if I'm being really honest with you, but I did enjoy this book. The banter between Sierra and Dylan is chef's kiss, top tier. They were arguing all the time. Sierra was a girl who, you're not going to talk to me any old kind of way. I'm not like these other girls who are just drooling over you, get over yourself. And Dylan liked that. Guys really do be like that in real life too. Why do you want me to be mean to you? I don't get it, but whatever. I don't know, girl. I think this is an adult romance. I don't think it's new adult. I don't have that many thoughts about it, to be real, other than, yeah, it's good. Would I recommend it? Maybe if you like college sports romances, this would probably fit in the category as a whole. Nothing to write home about. I am very thankful that I was able to receive this early copy of the book, though. So again, thank you to Berkley. This is not sponsored by Berkley, but if y'all do want to sponsor me, holla at your girl. Oh, you know what I forgot to tell y'all? So the next book is one of the books that I spun on my TBR wheel that I actually did finish. And that was The It Girl by Ruth Ware. Now, before we get to her, we're going to talk about a book that I unfortunately did DNF, and that is Bitter Passage by Colin Mills. Y'all, this book was mad boring. Boring. okay? I DNF'd it at like 20%. I just could not deal with it. I've already dropped it off in a free little library. Like, I just did not want it anymore. I hate to be like, oh, this is a girl book, this is a boy book. That was a boy book. And that's all I can really say about it. The story in itself sounded interesting. I feel like I would like it if it was like a show. I don't think there's an audiobook of it. Maybe I would have liked it more if it was on audio, just listening to it. But the dialogue was boring. The setting was cool and exciting, but other than that, no. I had to DNF it. That's the status on that book. Let's go ahead and get into The It Girl. I rated this book 3 stars, which is basically, it's a decent book. I thought it was okay. There's another book set in the UK around the Oxford campus. It follows a girl named April and Hannah, basically a group of friends, and April unfortunately gets murdered in her and Hannah's dorm room. In the book, we learn that there was a trial and there was a guy around the school who was being weird. So where we drop in the story, Hannah and Will, April's ex-boyfriend, are expecting their first child together. They've been married a few years. Hannah learns that John Neville, the guy that killed April, has died in prison. The thing about John is he has been screaming his innocence since the day he got arrested for this crime. Hannah starts feeling a lot of guilt and a lot of shame because her testimony was the one that landed this man in jail. So she just starts kind of doubting herself that she saw what she saw. And in turn with this, there's a reporter that reaches out to Hannah and is like, hey, I have some interesting news about your friend April's case, that John truly may have been innocent this whole time. So it kind of sends Hannah into a bit of a spiral. We are watching her kind of dig deeper into this case after 10 years. Her husband is not having it. Her friends are like, you're being weird. I thought it was a decent book. I had a good time reading it. It took me about a week to finish just because it was kind of more mystery than thriller. I didn't find it to be terribly exciting. The twist at the end was really good. I thought it was one person. I was completely wrong, and I was actually shocked. But then when they kind of got into the explanation of why the character did what they did, I was kind of like, okay. Sure, I guess. The ending for me didn't really land the way that I wanted it to. I thought the ending was just weird, and it wasn't written bad or anything like that. Yeah, it just wasn't my favorite book that I've read, especially not my favorite book that I read this month. I think it would be a good beach book. Nothing too crazy. It's kind of straightforward. If you're someone who reads a lot of domestic thrillers, things like that, you probably could see what was happening, possibly. I don't really know. I wasn't moved by this at all. So those are kind of my thoughts on The It Girl by Ruth Ware. Will I read more books by her? I don't know. I kind of want to read The Woman in Cabin 10 because it's a Netflix movie now. That one, I remember my friends back in the day really liking that book, so maybe I'll pick that up at some point eventually. We'll see. The very last book that I read this month, which is The Wrong Kind of Falling by Whitney Amazeen. But this book was basically a Hallmark fall/winter romance personified. I thought it was very cute, very cozy. I rated it 3.25 stars. It was just warm and fuzzy. Nothing crazy, no drama, just two people who meet each other. It is kind of a love at first sight, which I don't always love. Also, this was which I didn't realize till I was like, oh, which is not bad, but this is a Christian romance, which is different than just like a regular closed door romance. But this one was kind of like faith-led, essentially. So our two main characters are basically members of this church. One, the guy, he is kind of getting back into going to church. He's had some bad experiences. The girl in the story, she's a very active member in the church, and they meet, which didn't bother me, really. It was just kind of like, oh, okay, we got scriptures in here. Which you do, honestly, good reminders, you know? I'm not going to be like, ew, Bible. I didn't know that before going in. And honestly, it wasn't as pushy, or it wasn't like it was every other page was like, I guess the word is forced. It felt very natural. And again, this is another book where I related to the female lead in this. Kind of has some trust issues, dealing with previous relationship that didn't end well, that she basically was like lied to, essentially. But yeah, that can do a lot of damage to your kind of psyche in the dating world. So I felt kind of like, okay, I understand you, sister. Why I ended up rating it so low, I just didn't find that much to connect with the characters on other than their faith. I really didn't feel moved by their relationship. I wasn't invested in their relationship, whether they were together or not. I was just kind of like, yep, I'm reading the story. I do think this would be a good palate cleanser. Now, I will say the atmosphere of this book, chef's kiss. Gilmore Girls, Vermont in the fall, the leaves are falling, it's chilly, you're drinking hot cocoa, you're walking your dog, you're wearing a scarf, you're crunching on the leaves. The vibes, immaculate. They're eating apple cider donuts. I'm loving it. So I think this book is good for the vibe. And if you want that kind of Hallmark movie, cozy, satisfying romance, you're not going to be stressed out about this book. You're actually going to be like, aw, that's so cute. This is that kind of story. And honestly, I feel like that story should exist in everyone's kind of TBR for fall. The vibes were there and I had a good time reading it. The only reason I rated it so low because I didn't really care about the characters' relationship together at all. I didn't really feel like they had a lot of chemistry other than physical attraction and them kind of getting to know each other and being friends. I just wasn't moved by them and I was kind of just like, okay, cool. You know what I mean? But I would recommend it because I did like it. So those were all the 6 books that I read in October. I feel like this is going to be a fairly quick video. I don't know what I'm going to be reading in November because I haven't picked yet. I think I'm going to spin my wheel, decide what books I'm going to read, and maybe I'll upload a separate video for like, here's what I'm going to be reading in November. But thank you so much. The school bus outside is so loud. So yeah, so thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed it on this little overview of the books that I was able to read this month. And if you made it to the end of the video, let's comment a leaf emoji for fall. That'd be cute, that'll be fun. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell. That way you're uploaded. That's wrong. Make sure you hit that notification bell. That way you're notified every time that I upload a new video. And if you're watching this on November 2nd, that means I actually uploaded a video on time. And that's pretty exciting. Clap for me. Thank you so much. Okay, I'll see you on my next one. Bye.